On February 12, 2020, we received news that my grandfather had suddenly fallen gravely ill. My mother and cousin immediately went to visit him. My grandfather's house was located in a remote village called Kitalmari in Bangladesh. It was a little way inwards from the main Kitalmari area. To reach his home, one had to walk along the dirt road running beside a canal. Dense forest lined the other side of the road. Due to the sparse population there, houses were few and far between, and because of the bordering jungle, not enough sunlight filtered through, leaving the road cloaked in shadows even during daytime. Our family crossed a cemetery before finally arriving at grandfather's house after a short walk. Many ancient tamarind trees stood beside the family graveyard. There were plenty of stories circulating about the tamarind tree, but being a city dweller, I hadn't paid heed. Now to the real story. When I reached home, I found grandfather in a very serious condition. This turned out to be the last time I saw him, as he passed away on the morning of the 13th. The next day, on that Friday the 14th, our family elders decided to organize a millet prayers. After the weekly congregational prayers, seeking blessings for grandfather's departed soul. My grandfather was a pious man, due to his great spiritual influence in the village. Nearly everyone knew and revered him, believing he could divine the unseen realms. After the ASR prayers that day, my cousin Eamon and I thought of visiting the market, as my mobile was out of battery and needed charging. It was around nightfall 9 to 9:20 p.m. when we returned from the market wanderings. The real story begins here in our village. 9 p.m. in winter meant deep night had set in. Being a rural road rickshaw or auto rickshaw, fares were comparatively higher than daytime, as we didn't have enough to pay the extra fare, and with the market only 2 kilometers away, we decided to walk back home while chatting. It's worth mentioning that there were no houses nearby, as the road had a canal on the left and a vast paddy field on the right. Being a village road, there were no street lights, except for some solar-powered lamps a kilometer ahead. After walking some distance from the market, I started feeling scared in this dark environment. Just then, I heard rustling noises coming from around, like someone running over dry leaves. When I alerted my cousin, he boldly brushed it off, saying I might be mistaken, but after a while, he heard the exact same sounds again. Now fear started creeping in between us. After walking some more distance, I noticed an old man in a white Punjabi long tunic approaching. I saw he was carrying something like sugar in a polythene bag, which gave me a little courage on seeing him. My cousin and I decided to catch up and talk to the man, thinking the path ahead would seem less daunting. So we started walking a bit faster, but strangely, the closer we got to him, the more peculiar hot fumes and smells we felt surrounding us. I wondered where this scorching heat could be coming from in the biting cold, with no nearby houses where someone might light a fire to keep warm. As I pondered this, that strange odor and warmth seemed to intensify further. Eamon called out to the old man from behind repeatedly, but he didn't respond. We thought he might have impaired hearing. I went a bit ahead and asked, "Uncle, where are you headed?" He kept walking with his head down, not responding. I got slightly annoyed and said, "Why isn't Uncle talking?" But he remained silent. This made us even more afraid. I then said to him tremblingly, "Uncle, we're going to Khan's house. Amjad Khan's grandson. It's late at night, returning from the market, so I'm a bit scared. That's why I want to talk to you." That's when the terrifying incident happened, as the man raised his head and looked at me. I was shocked seeing his face. The phone slipped from my hands in sheer fright, and the torch went off. After seeing that face, I couldn't get the words out. No, we hadn't seen anything outwardly wrong. as much as I could perceive in the fleeting mobile flashes, illumination amidst the darkness. At first glance it seemed to be the exact same face as my grandfather's, but how could that be possible? The person we had buried with our own hands just yesterday, how could he be here? I didn't know what to do or where to go. I tried running as fast as I could, but I couldn't seem to move forward. My body felt heavy, though I was charging ahead. After a while, I looked back, feeling as if he too was coming towards us. We somehow managed to cross the bridge with great difficulty. Looking back, the man was nowhere to be seen. I started thinking he could be someone with an uncannily similar face. But if human, where could he have gone? There was a canal on one side of the road, and vast paddy fields on the other, and when I had visited the market in the afternoon, I clearly noticed there was no way to access the houses or fields alongside that road stretch. The canal had been dug right beside the paddy fields, making it impossible to cross over to the field. I wanted to scream out loud in fear, but couldn't. Since Eamon was older, he kept reassuring me that nothing bad would happen. I had tried to shout aloud, but fear had made me mute like Eamon. Then I called out to God. Suddenly, I noticed a man smoking on a roadside bench. It gave me some courage, because from what I knew, the jinn race or unseen beings are afraid of fire. As we got closer to him, the man noticed our panting figures and called out. Then he asked, "Why are you two out so late at night?" Gasping, we said, "We're going to Khan's house." He asked, "Aren't you Amjad Khan's grandson?" I confirmed that. Then he inquired, "Why are you out so late?" Eamon replied, "We thought we could make it back." The man said, "You shouldn't have come alone. You're very fortunate you crossed the neem tree beside that bridge before anything untoward happened to you." The man fell silent after saying that. It's worth noting, there is an ancient neem tree at the base of that culvert. Then we asked him, "Why? What's with the neem tree? And what would have happened if we hadn't crossed it?" "No, it's nothing," he said in a scared voice. "Just get home safely." After much pleading, he finally agreed to walk us to our home, but only until Kitamari. He lit another cigarette and started walking alongside us. Once at Kitamari, he said, "I'll go now. You can proceed from here." I begged him again to escort us home, but he couldn't, so he hurriedly went his way. There were solar-powered street lamps in that area. Eamon told me, "It's not far from here. Since we've come this far, I can cover the rest of the way." As he said that, I started the journey home uttering God's name. After walking some distance past the graveyard area, my body again started feeling heavy. It felt like my feet weren't moving forward properly. When I finally entered home, I found my uncle lying ill in the bed. Perhaps the grief had made him unwell, my aunt suggested. "Uncle," while returning after dusk, "that black calf from the graveyard followed me all the way till the tamarind tree," she said. "It even climbed atop the tamarind tree, making weird noises." Hearing this, your mother rushed out screaming and fainted. Later, I heard from grandmother that there is a jinn entity residing there. They torment people in various ways, but this never happened to any family member when grandfather was alive, she said. Then we shared with them everything that had transpired with us on the way back. After recounting the events, I said we would return to Dhaka the following morning, but that night I came down with a high fever, so we couldn't leave that day. 2 days later, we finally went back to Dhaka. I didn't face any other issues after that, but I still get chills whenever I recall that dreadful night. I was fortunate to have made it home safely. I might never have returned otherwise, but one question still lingers in my mind. Who was that stranger that day? He looked exactly like my grandfather, but was it really him or something else? I leave that disturbing question to you.